healthcare in between. Physics, art, and math got us down this path. Historical tales come alive, where science and stories dive. Blended facts with heart, knowledge from the start. Need bridge blues we sing to the future memory. Health and science in the mix. Need got the fix. Complex subjects made clear. Every episode we cheer. Ramana leads the way, explaining day by day. In the world of digital streams, turning knowledge into dreams. Through the tales of old, new stories unfold.
MedBits Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Hey, welcome to the MedBits Webcast. This is Ramana Annamraju. I'm the host. We have a very interesting program today. That is a live today, Thursday, but I don't usually do Thursdays also sometimes. So the interesting thing is that right now we are in the middle of United States. America is in elections. So, but very surprising. This is the only time I didn't see much of a discussion about healthcare among the political parties. Usually is a 50% is occupied by healthcare topics. So maybe they gave up. I don't know what it is, the problem, but it's a serious problem we have. Healthcare is a paradox. American healthcare is a example of paradox. The cost goes up, the care, access to the quality of the care, access and quality of the care goes down. That's a paradox. Paradoxes always eat money. That means they consume money left and right, because paradoxes is a pit hole. It goes, you put the money there, it never stops. So you have to solve that paradox. You cannot put the more money and then less quality. It doesn't make any sense. So I have a guest who is coming. He's my board buddy. He's a friend of mine for a long time. He's one of the first guests for me. John Silver is a PhD, is a nurse, PhD, and he came up with a new model. I love that model. It's called a utility model. Like electricity, water bill you pay, so you pay the healthcare as a household. It's a beautiful idea. Let me bring him to the table. Let me bring my friend, buddy, for a long time. He's a frequent guest of me. They let me bring him. Welcome, John. Welcome, John.
Hi again, Ramana. It's been a year or more.
Yeah, that's right. You've been my regular guest for a long time.
Yes, sir. Back in the good old days.
Good old days. Tell me a little bit about what is your background, a little bit, quick background yours, and then we'll go into the little bit of discussion.
Sure. Well, I'm old, so it's deep. This is actually my 50th year in healthcare. My first job was security guard in a hospital. So I climbed up the ladder of orderly and ER tech, respiratory therapist, and it's my 40th year as a registered nurse. When I get to the 90s, I went back to school and finished my bachelor's. And as I got into the master's, I started looking at the political aspects of healthcare, first regarding my own profession and then healthcare in general. So I did a master's focused on healthcare and worked up and did two internships in Washington. Worked with a rep here, worked with George Mason University's Health Policy Institute, and then decided that the healthcare system was basically the problem. and I wasn't really seeing any answers from my own field or medicine or public health. So I decided to step out of healthcare completely, and I went into a program called the Public Intellectual PhD in Comparative Studies, which let me look back at healthcare from multiple disciplines, as well as historically and contextually, and to see if I could see something, that maybe other people weren't paying attention to or didn't. Because here's one of the big problems. All of us have become so siloed in our disciplines that we don't talk to each other. And it's going to be a combination of ideas that end up solving this, which is why my group, Nurses Transforming Healthcare, is transdisciplinary. I work with physicians and pharmacists and public health people and nursing. Yeah, I did develop a model I think is pretty darn good and one that we need in this country.
You made an excellent point, John. One thing is I love that about that is that you said that compared to study PhD you did, you need answers from a different fields to get the answers to the complex problem. Particularly, healthcare is a complex problem. So I think you borrowed that in nicest way to put the interdisciplinary kind of thing. That's my whole podcast is doing that actually interdisciplinary kind of thing. So one of the things he came up with as a model is you borrowed the idea of the utility bills. Tell us that model that you came up with, and then we'll talk about a little bit about politics. If you want to talk about politics first, what is the status of right now the two parties? What is their healthcare policies at this time?
Well, the first thing I did when I went into the PhD program looking at healthcare writ large was I couldn't find anybody that had a clear set of goals for what a healthcare system should be. So I developed what I thought the 7 goals of a healthcare system had to be. And then I studied healthcare systems on 3 continents. I went to South America, I went to Europe, I came here. I presented at conferences with the Pacific Rim. So I basically took all these systems around the world and I put them on a table and saw which one of you meets the 7 goals. None of them did. And our healthcare system didn't meet any of the 7 goals. So that's what got me thinking about, because the United States, you're right, is kind of unique. We're a federal republic or a federated republic. So states have power, federal government has power. So I look back at U.S. history to see, when have we had this problem before? And the emergence of electricity in the early 1900s presented the government with that kind of problem. Electricity was really important. Manufacturers were producing tons of products, but the companies were privately owned. They had a bunch of LLCs over the top. They charged what they wanted to charge. They went to where they wanted to go. They ignored rural areas, a lot of inner city areas with economic issues. So I looked at FDR's solution, which was the public utility model. I brought that model forward, put it on the table, and I found out if I changed the administrative structure and I changed how it's financed, this model takes healthcare right down to the street in every community. You don't want to use the standard user fee kind of payment system. So I actually stopped my PhD for 2 years and went and got an MBA certification from Tulane so that I could understand the macroeconomics better. And then devise this payment system where we all pay just like we do now. It's just we pay a lot less. Corporations pay, businesses pay, state government, cities, counties, the federal government. We all pay into it, but there would be about a 42% reduction in cost. And we'd end up with an actual health system, not just a disease care system.
John, this is the one thing that irritates me in a lot of times. Some people say, who is going to pay for it? This infrastructure has to be paid by everybody, right? The government, the non-profit corporations, public, everybody has to be involved in the infrastructure kind of healthcare. So why they always say who's going to pay for it? This is kind of a wrong way to approach the problem. Do you agree?
Well, no, I mean, the payment system's important. People have to, pay for things.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be, socialized medicine where the federal government just pays it and we just get bumps in our taxes. I think Bernie Sanders is a little naive to think that, well, we'll just tax all the rich people and that'll solve the problem. I just don't see that as feasible in our country. I think we all have to have buy-in to it, because when we all have buy-in, we all can start thinking of things like, what's the personal responsibility I have to maintain my health? And what are good things I can do for myself that will maximize my health status?
John, I disagree with you a little bit about that. I'm going to make a small
Good.
argument about it. So, you're my old buddy. I know you long time. I can disagree with you. So, if there is a nutrition is not available in certain places, they all fast food restaurants are only available there. How could they have improve the health? There is no. I went to the Selma, Alabama. They don't have the nutritionist for last 10 years in the hospital. How can you get just a personal responsibility of yours if you are not teaching them and educating them what to eat, how to eat, how to take care of yourself? If you don't have that instruments and tools, how could you get that kind of a thing?
Well, and not everybody's educated in nutrition either, so that's also, a problem. As to why a hospital doesn't have a nutritional service, well, that's a whole nother issue. They must not think it's important enough. But one of the things a unified health system can do is start taking on these food processors. A lot of politicians tell you, well, you're just attacking farmers. It's not the farmers growing high fructose corn syrup. It's not the farmers dumping all these chemicals into their food products. It's the producers. And we have to be able to address as a health system these other competing corporations that are actually hurting our public health. So if you have if we're silent as a healthcare system, then how would anybody find out that, yeah, if you eat, Big Macs twice a day and you live off McDonald's food, nothing against McDonald's, I'm not saying picking them out, you're going to have health consequences from that.
But
And part of that is educating the public. Part of that is allowing industries that do produce and make healthy foods to flourish in competition with industries that I would say are not concerned so much with public health.
it's a lot of these are related to culture. Basically, you need an educational aspect of it, because I grew up in India. We eat a lot of rice, but rice is a lot of glycemic index is very high for rice.
Sugar, yeah.
So sugar. So this is kind of things we don't know at the time. We need to be aware of those kind of things and reduce that kind of intake a little bit more. People has to be. It has to from the grassroots. It takes a the food itself is it takes a lot of efforts from the government side, from the regulatory side. All those things are involved, right?
Yeah, and part of the role of the health system that I'm talking about is that we're working in and with communities and people and trying to help educate our public about what constitutes healthy diets and the consequences if you don't. And, yes, it's going to boil down to individual choice. But hopefully most people, would want to try to maximize their health if they had options. And, we as a culture started understanding that our health is not just an individual concern, it's a national security issue as well.
Absolutely.
So, part of that, we're the most trusted nursing, at least, but healthcare should be the most trusted profession in the country, because our focus should not be on dictating policies one way or the other, but educating the public about what constitutes health and how to maximize their health.
Absolutely. Well made points. You came up with a very interesting model, that the utility model. Let us get into the little bit more. So, if I have a household of 4 or 5 people, okay, and then how and one of them is, say, in the family is disabled. How does that utility model works in your system?
Anyone that lived in that residence would be covered.
All,
So if
all
they're disabled, if they need mental health, dental health, we can't fractionize healthcare. It's a holistic thing. So mental health services, addiction services, disabled care services, as well as maybe your routine medical processes of seeing a provider every year and the screening tests. All of those things are part of health.
How do you control the cost then? How do you one person, one family may have a lot of sick people in that one, or they may need additional services? How do you control the cost of that family paying an exuberant price, and then other families don't? So how do you control that cost?
Well, the first thing you have to look at is healthcare cost. We really have no idea how much healthcare costs. And the reason we don't is because those numbers that are charged were just made up. If you read people like Uwe Reinhardt that actually kind of got into this, what you'll find out is when he interviewed a lot of these senior leaders in healthcare, they just made up prices. And of course, then they just inflate the made up prices. So we really do not know accurately how much healthcare would actually cost. We know we spend something a little over $4 trillion a year in healthcare in this country. But you also have to look at cost as being there's other things rolled into that cost. For example, administrative overhead. In corporate systems, you not only have the administration of the facilities, but you have the central offices of the corporations themselves and all of those salaries. You have boards of directors and all of those salaries. And some of these BODs make, 450,000 a year in salaries. And then you've got shareholders on top of that you're paying out. So all of those things are rolled into what we think of now as healthcare costs.
So who pays for it? Just give me rundown of all the people. Say for the household, say five people there. One requires a mental health, other requires disabled. Who pays for that kind of people, and how much can they afford it or not? Is the government is also payer along with other payers?
Well,
They chip in a little bit, or what is it? How does it work?
when I worked with the economists I worked with early on, we came down that it would cost the average household about $50 a month.
$50 a month.
Yep. And they would have access, anybody there would have access to the health services that they need. That's another thing is deciding what people need versus what they want. So for example, this healthcare system would not cover if you wanted to augment the breasts of your 18-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
So elective stuff would still be considered your personal responsibility. But what you need for health services would be covered. Counties, cities would still pay, states would pay. But instead of like, if you look at a state like Oklahoma, 20% of that state's budget goes to health services.
Oh my God.
So that may drop down to 5%. What cities are putting in place for their health systems would all drop down significantly. Medicare and Medicaid would be cut almost in half. Major corporations spend anywhere from $22,000 to $26,000 per employee. That would probably drop down around $2,000 per employee,
Imagine.
and they wouldn't have to maintain their infrastructure. But the bonus is that we'd get an actual health system which would focus as much on prevention and community relations as it does on how many MRI scans they can do in a year.
So, very good point you made. But nowadays there are two things I want to talk about. That first is access to the people. Let us talk about doctors, access to nurses. Always there is a shortage of doctors. Do you think we should put more nurses? And you're a nurse for a while. You put a more nurse practitioners, give autonomy for them, and the physician assistants should get a more autonomous in this area. What do you think of that?
Well, I think we have to understand that medicine practices medicine, nursing practices nursing. Now, our advanced practitioners can also do some of what maybe medicine thinks is their proprietary role in healthcare, but they're also very skilled at doing it. So, yes, it gives us an advantage in this country to not only have the medical providers that we can utilize, but also the nurse practitioners and now the doctorate of nursing practitioners, the DNPs, to be able to actually go out and initiate these delivery systems in every community. Now, that doesn't mean you build a hospital in every community. That would be unaffordable. But it does mean that we need to start doing the proper assessments for communities to find out what is actually needed and what that community perceives as the need, so that we can go in and start addressing these needs, develop the trust which we have to restore after the whole COVID nonsense, and then meet those needs. And then we can start, once we have that trust and that footprint, we can start expanding the object of health in that community. The other thing I would say too is that the current definition in the U.S. of a healthy community is talking about how many hospitalizations we reduce 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles away in the hospital. I do not see that as the only definition of what a healthy community should be. So communities need a sense of opportunity, of participation, of inclusion. Having that small healthcare footprint in a community can open up the doors to use our technology to provide educational services to people in that community, attending community colleges. Uh, Maybe Department of Agriculture can come in and help. Departments with husbandry and veterinary services can come in. We can start shuffling this knowledge that we have centralized in basically cities and start spreading those resources out so that every community feels included in the United States, not excluded.
You know, this is a wonderful idea of the utility model that you came up with. It's really very interesting model. The one other thing I want to ask you about the hospitals. Why do we need hospitals or silo structures, big buildings? Do we need that? Actually, you can decentralize those services into small pieces and then give access to the where the patient is, or the where the services are required. You disperse them. They provide services at the point of care.
Well, yes and no. So yes, we need hospitals. We still have people in head-on car accidents.
Yes.
You can't take them into a rural emergency center and expect, trauma surgeons to be on staff.
Yeah.
We still have a lot of issues. There are still life events that take place that are catastrophic. You still need that expertise collected for certain, specifically surgical issues. Maybe not so much individual disease diagnosis, that can be spread out into other areas. But there's still acute services that hospitals provide that, uh, to me, is incomparable to any other system. But
But
that doesn't mean every hospital has to be able to do everything.
but but
So,
but but one question I have is there is a mostly geared towards episodic care, right? Not the chronic care, episodic care. There's
correct.
some. So if that is the if the only they if you specialized hospitals only take episodic care, chronic care you can shift to the regular all providers, doctors, nurses, and everybody. It's going to be a lot cheaper than MRI. I'm paying a $5,000 in a hospital than a $500 in outside of the outpatient diagnostic center is a lot cheaper. That's where you can reduce the cost of the healthcare. Do you agree?
Well, it's not even that. It's just that there's going to be no more individual billable interactions. Physicians and nurses will be salaried. You won't be in this constant need to see 40 patients a day to earn your money. And
Yeah,
so it'll be the quality of care that you're giving people that will be the standard you're judged by.
you're
I
giving
also
you're giving a heart attack to the doctors right now.
Right. And the system will assume, for example, the malpractice insurance for the providers that are their employees. So there will be a concerted effort of peer review so that, physicians are judging, or I hate the word judge, but they're peer reviewing the other physicians. They peer review themselves. Nurses will peer review nursing. Pharmacists will peer review pharmacists. Physical therapy will peer review physical therapy. This isn't 1910 anymore. Most of our disciplines practice at a doctoral level. So why don't we let them do what they're trained to do?
What do you think of now? There is a Nvidia, a video company, came up with the Nurse Bot. They say they got a great reviews. What do you think of artificial intelligence plays a role in the future of healthcare and reduce the cost?
Well, I think AI has a big role in healthcare, but it's not replacing providers. So what AI can do very well though is analyze gross amounts of information, to be able to say, for example, your system is comparable to this system, but your providers use twice as much diagnostics as other systems do. So AI provides information that we can utilize in healthcare. But to me, healthcare still boils down to a provider and a physical presence with a patient.
Yeah.
I don't know how you strip us of that because there's just so much nuance, and kind of special conditions regarding human beings
Yeah.
that I don't think AI is able to comprehend.
So
Not yet.
when I come back, I will ask you about your website and nursing transformation.
Well,
What do
let's
you
talk
do?
about the politics too,
Yeah,
because I think that's
politics.
important.
When I come back, politics we will talk. This is a AI related kind of a new kind of a magic in the medicine is coming up. It is I'm going to talk about that is a funny, it's a comedy, and everything is involved. That's a John Silver, a good friend of mine, is a regular guest. The story I'm going to tell you is a strange, it's a funny, it's a comedy, drama, thriller, everything even in the medicine. It's a story of a lifetime. We got to listen to. There's a funny and a lot of money is involved. This is a story about the yogurt. I tell you about that. You see, yeah, that let me, okay. Actually, this is the one I met, Ted Gentry, Alabama group. He called one day I was driving through Alabama. This is a famous country singer. Is one of his friends know me. He called me to his farm. So I went there. He said that everybody said that you're a smart guy. Can you tell me how do I get gene modification for my cows? He has a big farm, 10 gentry. And I said that as my daughter was there, we met him. I said that I'm not a biologist. I'm a physicist. You got the wrong guy, but I can hook you up with some people there. It is interesting. So I connected with the country music, if you like it or not, but that's surprising. But so Ted Jen, what he wants is actually I found out is the Balaram, thinking about his modification of genes for the high productivity and great beef. He wants it. Actually, I found a Jersey cows when I was in India. Jersey cows are very popular. There is they give a rich fat and a very buttery milk and creamy yogurt and all those things. These are all not, actually, Jersey cows is not from New Jersey. They're from a Channel Islands of the English and France, the canal, that is what is that called, the route between them, between English and French route. There is a canal there. That's where the island is. The Jersey cows are modified themselves, natural selection. So it's a mountainous area. So the cows are smaller and they are longer, and they created their own genetic modifications to evolve into the very rich, productive. So this cow became a very popular in India, believe me or not. So that is a cow. How do you? Yeah, I want to ask you, how do you make a yogurt? Maybe Jennifer can tell us. So actually, Jennifer, I used to watch my mother to make a yogurt. You take a milk. A lot of Americans don't know how to make a yogurt. I tell you, I used to watch my mother all the times. You take a milk and boil it, and you put a culture. What they do is all the women in that small village, they borrow culture from each other, and if there is a good culture come from a tasty culture, it creates a good yogurt. They borrow from each other and then pass on to other people. So that culture, they put the culture and wait for 24 hours, you get the yogurt. That is as simple as that. That is a culture is the key for that the whole thing. So Danone yogurt is doing this. They're doing on a large scale in the Switzerland, I think, in Sweden, I think, Swedish thing. So Danone yogurt is as you know, we all know Danone yogurt. They make a lot of work. They also make cultures. The Danisco, its company is actually the parent company, I think, Danone yogurt connected with the Danisco. Danisco makes actually enzymes. They makes the culture. That's That is the biggest manufacturer of cultures. You take the powder in India. You borrowed. My mother used to borrow from people, other women, other families. Now you can buy a culture and put in the yeast in the milk, boiled milk. So that is a cultured enzymes that they're making. Danisco is making that yogurt. So what happened is, one thing they found out is interesting thing they found out. So they found out is this, some of the yogurt is actually getting the bacteria makes the yogurt actually. That's a good probiotics. So good bacteria, the good is a bacteria makes the yogurt, and then viruses come and destroy it. Sometimes they make a mess with that one. So what they're losing, Denisco is losing, the Danone yogurt manufacturer losing a lot of these things to the bad viruses. They're messing up their yogurt. So same culture, and some of them are turning it out to be good, some of them are turning as bad. So they lose money that way. So they went to the scientist. That's one scientist, very strange way. There's a Philip Horowitz, his name is a chief material microbiologist for a Danisco yogurt, and then there is a lady. I don't know how she came out into the whole picture. Her name is Melissa from Michigan. Just like Jennifer, she just jumped in the middle. So she was involved in this whole process. They found out what was the bacteria. They found out the bacteria, some yogurts are turning out to be good because that bacteria is fending off the viruses, is cutting off the viruses, is fending off. That's a mystery to them. They didn't understand the whole mechanism, and they went to scientists. More further, they went to the university scientists. They went to the two scientists. One is Jennifer Doudna, Emmanuel Charpentier. These two people are working on it. They went there. In the beginning, they thought that it is a simply culture problem. Is not some enzyme problem. But more they looked into it, they were surprised. There's something mystery went on in that yogurt. That mystery was, this is a two woman. One is a chemist in the University of Berkeley here. Another one is Emmanuel Charpentier from the Planck Max Institute from Germany. They're one of the top premier institutes. They found out something interesting. What they found out is CRISPR. CRISPR is they found a kind of a bacteria is using a new kind of a mechanism to fend off the viruses. This It is animals, plants, and then humans. Even they're using this kind of a mechanism to fend off the viruses, the bad viruses that cause infections. So that is, that was the very strange. What is a CRISPR? Okay, is a big long word. I have to say this. My eyes are not that good because that is a blocking. I want to tell you, CRISPR is a clustered spacers. Basically, it is a big DNA. Spacers is a huge name. I'm going to repeat that because it's blocking me. Somebody can, just let me see if I can read that, the long name, mouthful name. So let me just make it bigger, maybe. Yeah. So I wanted to explain to you a little bit about this. What is a CRISPR, right? So that is what I'm going to explain to you. CRISPR is I can give a best analogy is a canine and a Cas9. There's a two kind of things. Cas9 is a molecular complex in the cell. Canine is the police dogs and police people. Both have to understand the CRISPR. If you understand the canine, both functions are same. They serve the similar purpose. Canine is they protect the communities. What they do is both are common things. Like I just wrote it down. Is a detect and neutralize threats. Canine does that. Cas9 does that. I will show you how to do that. How they do it. And both use specialized tools. The canine uses dogs and their guns, and then Cas9 uses scissors, a molecular scissor. I'm going to explain to you. protect their environment. Both of them protect their environment. Canine protects the city, town, subdivision. Cas9 protects the cells. That is a, that is a basically great analogy. Even my AI told me that's a beautiful analogy. I will keep it in mind. I want to give it to other people. She said so. Thank you. So AI is recognizing me. So subdivision, suppose for example, there is a subdivision, that is the environment, right? So if somebody walking around who doesn't belong to the in the subdivision is a problem, right? Single cell E. coli. So there is a lot of the bacteria, the cell. I'm explaining to you the bacteria, single cell bacteria, E. coli. I'll tell you how that works comparison wise. So the viruses are like a sprawlers. They are the ones suspicious characters in the cell side. In the subdivision, these are characters walking around, and they want to steal something. They want to steal Amazon boxes, all those kind of things. They're walking around. So viruses are like that to the cell, basically. So suspicious guy comes. When the police comes the first time, what he does is going to, what is why you're here? Or he will say, I see a friend and blah blah blah. So they give it. What they do is this is the same thing happens. First time the it's a suspicious phage. Phage is a bad part of the bad virus come into the cell. He doesn't know he's a good friend or foe. We don't know he's a good guy or bad guy. We don't know. So these viruses, they don't know, the cell doesn't know it's a bad or good. First time when it encounters it. So when it causes infection, when the things are disappearing, like Amazon boxes, then they know this guy is a first time you write a test pass, right? First time is a test pass. That's what they do. Hey, you're test passing this. You're not supposed to be here. It's a private property, private subdivision, and they give a test pass because he doesn't know. They didn't find him to be committing any crime. So that is at this time at least. But in the same thing happens in cell. When the bad virus come inside, it doesn't know whether it's good or bad, but it will keep track of that thing. When it goes to the when something happens, what happens is it takes the small strip of RNA, DNA, whatever the phage is a basically viral RNA or could be DNA. It comes the first time. What it does is cell does is cuts in pieces and keeps it in the memory. I tell you how it does. Amazing thing. So what cells do is an amazing thing. They keep track of they cut that cells. They cut the RNA, phage RNA into small pieces and strips into small pieces and puts into the all over DNA in the bacteria. Bacteria puts in the DNA, embeds the phage virus, the phage RNA, phage DNA. It puts everywhere in the DNA part of it. I'm a physicist. I'm not a biologist, but I'm trying to explain the best way I could. So it stores in the bacteria DNA. All the DNA is stored of the phage DNA is stored inside. What it does is because it can what it does is a very wise thing. It cuts into small pieces and stores the DNA. It's like taking a picture of the guy. If a suspicious guy comes, he will take a driver's license, right? That's a picture he's taking the police. They do the same thing. He takes a picture of that, basically storing the image of the images he stores in the bacterial DNA. A virus comes in the cell. It takes and chops into pieces, and then DNA it puts in their own DNA, embeds in the DNA. I tell you what it does after that. That's a fascinating. What he does is after that, second time that guy come in, that Amazon boxes are missing. Then he got arrested. He will know because last time he found a warning for him. Now he came again. He gave the trespass warning. He's going to send a canine dog to catch him, and and that is the case. It does the same thing in back cell. What his cell does is the next time when the same kind of a second time when
bad virus coming in, the immediately what it does is the cell with the Cas9 complex is recognizes and compare the images in the inside. Hey, this is I saw the same DNA. What it does is actually it takes a DNA. I'll tell you that a little bit of a complex way, but what it does is a little bit of a around the structure. It does. It takes the DNA. Bacteria takes the DNA and then again transcribe into the RNA, and then it makes the guided RNA, a GPS system. It makes. So they are all floating around. The surveillance like a canine units. They will be walking around in the cell. They will be running around the cell looking for a bad viruses. So the phase, the guided RNA is looking, which has a bad images it has. It is a guided RNA looking for the images, anything that's similar to the previous one came in. Second time coming in, then guided RNA recognizes it, and immediately it sends a Cas9 complex. It attached to a scissor, molecular scissor, and then goes in there, cuts in half that the viral DNA. It cuts in half. So bacteria, when they first time came in, it is infected. It doesn't know it's good or bad. It's infected. If it survives, it remembers and takes that small RNA DNA, embeds in its own DNA. Hey, this is a dangerous one. When the bacteria spreads, it tells the baby bacteria, these guys are bad. So that is a very powerful way of doing things. It is a very complex and ingenious way the cell behaving here. It is recognizing, like a mother telling a daughter, hey, there's a bad guys up here in this subdivision. Don't I give you pictures of them. If they come and stab them, because they're bad people. If they come close to you, that kind of a thing they're doing, that the mother bacteria does before it splits into two. It embeds all the images, all the DNA of the bad dudes into DNA, and they give a weapon, Cas9 scissors, molecular scissor. So that is a very ingenious way. Basically, what it I'm going to basically. So that's what the Chobani. So what I'm trying to say is a little bit of, I wanted to explain to you. When the phage DNA, phage is a bad virus, comes inside, it transcribes into the RNA molecule. It does transcribe into RNA. Phage DNA comes into RNA. Then it becomes a CRISPR and puts into the spacers, CRISPR spaces. It puts into there, and then and gRNA is like a GPS system. So it located there. So when the bad virus comes in, immediately gRNA, the floating ones, matches that piece of RNA to the piece of that phase RNA, which is a bad RNA. Immediately informs, it goes to the Cas9, it calls the Cas9 scissors, and then go there and cut them in half. Amazing technology. It is a state-of-the-art technology the cell is adopting. It is unbelievable. That's what they found out. Then the comedy starts here. So that's what the Chobani and all these companies, they understood why yogurt getting bad, because that some of the bacteria fending off the viruses in a very clever way. That's what they found out. They took the mechanism, and then that is a very Cas9 complex is like a surveillance of the cell. So Cas9 is a scissors. That's a part of the CRISPR. Both the protect life. That's what they do. But that's a good comparison. Just a minute. So then what happened is Emmanuel Charpentier, Jennifer Doudna is from Berkeley, she's from Max Planck Institute, combined them together. They found this mechanism, and then human cell DNA. So there is a guy in MIT with Harvard and MIT combination, Broad Institute they call. His name is Feng Zhang. what he did was he also found that, how the spacers work, and then how can you use a CRISPR to change the genetic structures of the people. Okay, that what he found. So these two women in one side, Berkeley, and Broad Institute, MIT, in other side, and then they combined them together. They really got together and did this kind. They're not together. They're enemies in the sense that they're kind of competitors. But human cell DNA they can change through CRISPR mechanism. That's what the so sickle cell disease, for example, is one of the things you can, sickle cell is a blood disease for the particularly African Americans is a big, you can change the DNA, defective DNA. So they cut that one through gRNA. You can cut it and then paste it. Cut and paste. That's what it does. That is the power of the CRISPR. So guide RNA goes there, and you could tell the guide RNA where to cut it. Bad genes, take the bad DNA, cut it out, and put the good DNA there. Think about that. This is a guided RNA in the cell. These are all happen within the cell. All three are did this together. Cas9 with the Cas9 protein, uh, Emmanuel Charpentier, Jennifer Doudna, and Feng Zhang. They all did together. MIT and University of Berkeley, Max Planck Institute. So what happened is this is the comedy is coming up soon. So cut and paste, that's what they call the CRISPR cut and paste mechanism. You can revolutionize the medicine, muscular dystrophy, genetic diseases, liver, lung disease, all of them. You can change it in the future. You can truly revolutionize the medicine itself, because this is really genetically at the beginning itself you're changing. But there is a lot of so there's a lot of money involved. There's immediately, oh my God, this is you can cure every disease. So everybody got involved in this money. Everybody sees the money. So what happened was Berkeley with the Jennifer Doudna and the Emmanuel Charpentier, they find a patent in 2012. They find they patented in 2012 with regular filing. They did a regular filing, regular pending. So the government goes through their own process, right? The Harvard, MIT, Broad Institute, they filed it later on, 2014. They did 2014, but he paid $200 extra. So for that, he got the expedited filing he did. So he got the first patent before these women get it because of the administrative process. So Emmanuel Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna got the patent later on. First, they got the Broad Institute. Feng Zhang got the patent first. Then, but the actual discovery is done by Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier. So everybody is confused. Everybody is the Nobel Prize is in the middle. So what they did in the Nobel Prize. So during this process, there is a designer babies came in. Chinese doctor used a CRISPR to produce the babies together. The Lulu and Nana, and the name said the Lulu and Nana. They did it. So they produced the first CRISPR babies, genetically created identical twins. But immediately that created an ethical problem. He was arrested. He was put in the jail. He went to jail. So that's a. So during this time, the Broad Institute, which the Feng Zhang boss, wrote a kind of a nasty op-ed he took in the New York Times or someplace, Washington Post. He wrote something about talking about women during the middle of the Me Too movement. He was talking something nonsense. He wrote a letter that Wuhan virus came in the same time. Designer babies, they're all red flags around the Asian. This is a kind of became racial to some extent. Now that sealed the Feng Zhang fate. Why it is? You can't hear me. You cannot hear me?
I hear you fine.
Okay. I don't know why she's calling. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, just a moment. I don't know why she. Okay, but anyway, um, so so that is a Feng the Feng Zhang during the middle of the crisis. Feng Zhang did not. So he's in the all the is went against the Chinese, kind of a Chinese against Chinese altogether. Actually, 20 years ago, another Japanese scientist found out this mechanism. His name is Oshizumi Ishing, I think, his name. Ishino. He did the agrochemistry. He invented 20 years ago. But because of the middle of the Wuhan virus and then Me Too movement, these two guys are avoided and they were taken out from the whole process. And then Emmanuel Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna were awarded the Nobel Prize in 2020. That's went to the chemistry and the Nobel Prize for they went there. So this is a, but the biggest loser of all is this guy, the real loser. His name is Mad Dog. He came on YouTube and he wanted to change it. I don't know. He wanted to change his hairstyle or he wanted to look like a, John Silver, whatever it is. He went there and do using his CRISPR in his backyard in his garage and he's producing all the videos in there. The next day, FBI, CIA, everybody's at his home. And this is a kind of a problem that he said that he made a mistake. Is a bigger problem. Is a crazy guy. So it could. People are using CRISPR using in the garages. That is a very simple to use. It's not that complicated. So this guy became unpopular after he published pieces of these things, and he is trying to he's trying to do with the dogs and his hair probably something he's doing, but did not work out very well. So he was the biggest loser. They banned him. He almost went to jail. But there is a legal mess, because there is so much money. Everybody saw that universities, NGOs, governments, scientists and research institute, India, Brazil, consumer unions, all of them filed a lawsuit each other because the MIT says that that's their patent, and then the Jennifer Doudna, they say their patent, and then then government says that this is a yogurt but doesn't belong to the anybody, it belongs to the government, public. So everybody is involved. This is like a whole mess, legal mess. It's all in the courts, and that's why 5 years they did not award the Nobel Prize because of these legal issues. So, but I tell you, what you can do with the CRISPR, one of the things in computer side, flash drive, you take a flash drive, it's a magnetic storage, right? One and zeros it stores. That's what it does, the USB flash drive, magnetic storage. But if you use if you use Cas9 can do the storage, unbelievable things happen. You can put movies in the bacteria. They did in fact, a hollow wall, a person riding a horse. What is that? A lot of buzzing is coming up. Oh, that's I know why. Okay, thank you. You know what happened is this projector making a lot of noise. Thank you. Oh yeah, projector is making noise. Sorry about that. I didn't understand. Yeah. Now is it gone?
No,
Still coming up?
try it now.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. Why? I don't know. This whenever I present this.
Well, you don't hear buzzing when I speak, right?
No, I think there is something going on outside. There's construction going on. That's a problem.
It
Okay.
sounds electronic. It sounds like it's in the system.
No, it's picking up from outside.
Ah, there it's gone.
It's gone.
Yes, sir.
So this is the hello world. Actually, they put a movie in the bacterial DNA. So in the bacterial DNA, they put a movie inside. You can storage. You can put the data through bacterial DNA. You can do that through the DNA through using CRISPR. You can write. If you have computer storage, you can put 10 movies. You can do 1 million movies in the one bacteria. Decades it does. Computer storage, after that all the magnetic storage goes down and is only lasts for decades, but thousands of years in DNA it keep on passing to other structures, right, to the baby bacteria and all those things. Moore's law doesn't apply here. Is no limits actually. So the amazing DNA you can use as a storage in the future, because we are having a lot of storage problems now. University of Washington did that. The unlimited DNA storage, entire data of the world, you can put in the DNA instead of all these big units in the computer storage places, and takes a lot of energy. 1 gram of DNA can put the entire data of the world. So CRISPR is a 21st century scientific wonder. Genetic diseases, it can treat the genetic diseases, cancer, drug resistance, and malnutrition, and then it can clean up the oil spills, protects the environment and the endangered species, reconstruct the ancient diets, the big bio art it can create. That create in the middle of the picture that there is a controlling silkworm. They told the silkworm to make art, and he did that together. Silkworm is controlled by CRISPR to make that uh, to make that thing. Are you getting still this noise?
Nope.
So vanilla yogurt research studies, um, so they found out the vanilla yogurt is a research studies found out makes you happy. I want to throw that one. So CRISPR is an amazing technology, and I called Jennifer Dadna one day, and I called her office, and their lawyer called me and said that we don't want to swag. We are under a lot of uh, legal issues there, and is all CRISPR is onto the legal mess. But I told her that you will be amazingly, for all women enter into science, you could be a great model, but there is all the legal cases is all mess right now.
All right.
Okay,
The buzz is kind of back.
for me,
You're buzzing again.
I don't know why it never happened. It's still coming up. Maybe I did that something.
Seems to be gone now.
So I got to find out this is ribosome reader. Venki Ramakrishnan read a book. He also wrote a book. He is very good in this kind of things. If you want to study anything about the CRISPR and other things, you should read his book. He's a Nobel laureate. He won the Nobel Prize for the ribosome, the structure. He invented the ribosome structure. I spoke with him also. Venki Ramakrishnan, his name. He's from England, actually. Why We Die. He wrote a book, Gene Machine. These two books are really very powerful books to understand our things. So if you want to understand the CRISPR more, that's read his books. Thank you for so much joining. Let me bring just for a few minutes. I don't know why. That's hi, John. Okay, sorry about that. That's some days that's what it is. Okay, did I do? Is a lot of buzzing came out or what?
There was a couple of minutes of it for sure.
Yeah. So just let me hide this one. Okay, tell us a little bit about this. We are done almost. Tell
The
me
election.
what is your website? Nurses Transformation, right?
Nurses transforming healthcare.
Okay.
I did want to say something about the election real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
This is going to be a really critical election for healthcare and health policy. On the Republican side with Mr. Trump, he's already expressed that one of his avowed interests is ripping Obamacare out by the roots. Now, there's a lot of reasons why this man in particular may want to do that, but a lot of it's personal, just to get back at President Obama. Actually, the Affordable Care Act, Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, did a lot of good. The problem was there were too many states that didn't enact it, so it became kind of disproportionate to the whole country. And then almost immediately in 2010, with the election of a Republican Congress, they started just trying to stab it to death over the years, and they made 63 attempts to repeal it. The last one famously with John McCain putting his thumb down. So if you rip out the PPACA, we basically go back to the mid-2000s, and it's just going to be an insurance and a systemic nightmare of what's going to happen with healthcare. If you look at the other side, Vice President Harris is going to continue extending the PPACA benefits and try to get them nationally and keep incrementally improving them, which is what CMS has been working on for a while. The problem is that's going to take 20 or 30 years. And then, how many people are going to die in that time? How many communities are neglected? So that's kind of the other side of that equation. But I will say this, though.
Both
No,
parties are doing.
I will say this. I will say this. I think Kamala Harris would be much more open to discussing stuff like I talk about, to see how we can actually make significant improvements in how healthcare delivery is done at a much reduced cost.
Yeah. Well, I am not this is not a political channel. I that you can express any way you wanted it, but I want to create solutions and policy solutions and processes that create to solve the problems. That's my job. That's what. Thank you for so much.
Let's talk about the public utility model then, because
Yeah,
that'll work.
Public utility model is an excellent model. I think
Thank you.
You did a great job on that one. I have a lot of respect for you. It's truly an honor and privilege to talk with you, John.
Right back at you.
Yeah, good night, all of you.
Good night, Ramana.
Yeah. Sorry about the buzzing sound. I will find out what's going on.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it